If you go to the Guild Wars wiki and scroll through the Presearing skills list, you will see that every single profession was given some sort of a healing skill to keep themselves alive. Their power ranges from nice to have to single-handedly face tanking a pack of char, and in this video I wanted to take a look at the healing skills of Presearing and compare their effects and usefulness. I hope you'll enjoy. To start off, let's have a closer look at two skills that stand far above the rest: Troll Unguent and Healing Breeze. The vast majority of all Presearing builds use one or the other as their main form of sustain, and they both do pretty much the same thing. They give a large amount of health regeneration, with some key differences that generally come down to preference. Troll Unguent costs 5 less energy, which is very important to professions like Warrior or Ranger, but at a cost of having triple the cast time and 2 seconds shorter duration compared to Healing Breeze. When it comes to their healing potency, Breeze starts stronger, giving a +4 regeneration at 0 healing prayers compared to +3 of Troll Unguent at 0 wilderness survival, but the Ranger skill scales better, giving more regen at attribute 10 and from 12 onwards. Healing Breeze is more versatile of the two, being able to be cast on another player, pet, or minion to keep them alive, but it has one glaring downside that you'll quickly learn once you enter Northlands. It's an enchantment spell, meaning it will be relentlessly shattered by Char Chaos, requiring you to either focus them first before healing yourself, or to cover it with another enchantment spell to protect it. Troll Unguent is a skill and not a spell, and it's not an enchantment, so it cannot be removed in Presearing, and it will happily heal you for the entire duration. As I said before, choosing between these two skills is generally a matter of preference. You just have to pick if you're bothered more by having to worry about your enchantment being shattered, or by having to cast for 3 seconds before every fight. There is, however, one more strong regeneration spell available, albeit with some significant downsides. If you're a Necromancer player, you don't have to pick your secondary profession for survivability, and you can instead take Elementalist or Mesmer for their strong offensive options, but that leaves you with Blood Renewal. It lasts just for 7 seconds, costs 15% health to cast on top of mana, and the regen it provides doesn't really scale very well with attribute points, on top of it being an enchantment. But what it lacks in these departments though, it makes up with its additional effect. Once this enchantment ends, no matter how, even if it's shattered, you're healed for a significant amount. My level 20 Necromancer has 632 health in full gear, which means casting Blood Renewal costs 95, and starting at 6 Blood Magic, the end effects restores more than it costs. The cast time is just 1 second, and the energy cost is just 1 as well, on top of Blood Magic being an attribute you already most likely pump a bunch of points into, and that makes a Blood Renewal a not too bad alternative to the aforementioned 2 spells, and just be extra careful using it on a survivor character. Alright then, that's the most important, in my opinion, healing skills covered, so let's move on to the more complementary ones. And since we were already talking about the Necromancer, we can start with Life Siphon. It has a hefty 10 energy cost, but it scales really well with attribute points, and if you were to invest 12 into Blood Magic, it will cause a -3 degeneration to your target, giving you a +3 regen for 22 seconds. With a relatively short 5-second recharge, you can easily have 2 of these on different targets for a big regen on yourself, or you can just cast 1 on an enemy you want to focus last, so it slowly ticks down and heals you while you take care of all the other enemies. Next up, there's Vampiric Gaze and Vampiric Touch. These two skills both steal life from an enemy and give it to you, but Vampiric Touch costs an insane 15 energy and it requires you to be in melee range, so in most circumstances you will just stick to Vampiric Gaze. Overall, it's a little pricey 10 energy spell, but I think its biggest strength is in its utility, being both something you can use to finish off a low health monster or to top your health bar and just keep going. Coupled with Life Siphon and Blood Renewal, Necromancers really have a lot of self-healing potential at their disposal. They just have to get it from different sources, and since it's often paired with dealing damage at the same time, I think it makes for a really fun playstyle. Moving on, let's talk about the Healing Signet. This skill is the warrior's only healing option in Presearing, and in my opinion it fits the profession really well due to the fact that it has no energy cost. With a 2-second cast time and 4-second cooldown, it can be spammed quite often, and while its attribute, Tactics, isn't exactly the most desirable in Presearing, it has a quite high base healing value of 82 at 0 Tactics. It does have one big downside though. During the cast time, it reduces your armor by 40, which roughly makes you take double the damage. If you also need to heal while having Frenzy active, you will be taking 4 times the usual damage, which can quickly send your character back to the nearest shrine. It's a fantastic tool to use between fights or when you have a pet tank for you, but even more so than with Blood Renewal, you just have to be so careful while using this on a survivor. On the complete opposite end of the warriors, let's discuss elementalists and their skill Aura of Restoration. I bet many of you wouldn't even classify it as a healing skill. Once you cast it, it's an enchantment that lasts an entire minute, healing you every time you cast spells that cost energy. The attribute of the skill is energy storage, meaning non-primary elementalists will only restore twice the spell cost, but even then, frequent +10 or +20 heals are definitely a very comfy thing to have. What isn't so comfy though is the fact that this also suffers from the enchantment tag, meaning Char Chaos will be your sworn enemy and the aura rarely lasts the entire 60 seconds. Just like Healing Breeze, I found this shines a lot more in Vanguard quests when you don't have to worry about shatters, and if you take it to the Northlands, just cover it with another enchantment. Sorry to interrupt me from the future here. I realized while editing this video that I made it to be like enchantments are always a downside and a negative thing. While that's not exactly the case, there are some items that increase enchantment duration, and there are items that give you bonuses while enchanted, so they definitely can have their upsides and their skills can be stronger depending on if you have those items or not. Yeah, just wanted to clear that up. Thanks. Another spell I wanted to discuss is Ether Feast. Probably gave a bunch of low-level players a big headache trying to defer Gust Ashpire. This skill causes the target to lose 3 energy and it heals you for each point lost. It's an inspiration magic spell, meaning you most likely won't have many attribute points working to scale it up, but if you just put a few points, it starts paying some dividends. Even at 4 inspiration, it heals you for close to 100 HP. Sadly, while it doesn't have any major downside, it also doesn't really do much. There is no PvP in Presearing, so making enemies lose energy isn't really something you need to care about if you can just defeat them faster. And while the healing is very decent, it requires you to put points into an otherwise dead attribute, so overall, I wouldn't say it's that great. It's okay, but it isn't great. The next 3 skills all belong to the monks, so with much to talk about, let's start with the simplest one, Horizon of Healing. For just 5 energy and 1 second cast time, you heal your target for some amount, and that's it. The recharge time is just 2 seconds, so you can spam this to your heart's content, and being able to heal your friend, pet or minion gives the spell the versatility that others like it simply don't have. The attribute that Horizon uses is Healing Prayers, same as Healing Breeze, so you will most likely have it scaled up very nicely. Up next is Reversal of Fortune. This skill creates an enchantment that causes the next damage or lifesteal that targets you to heal you instead for the same amount, up to a cap that's increased by Protection Prayers. This time, the fact that this is an enchantment is actually a good thing, since this is one of the skills most often used to cover Healing Breeze, as it's cheap and has a pretty quick cast time. The downside of using this as a cover is that, sadly, Shatter Enchantment will first remove the buff and then deal the damage, meaning you won't get healed. In my Presearing skills tier list, I listed Reversal of Fortune under D tier, and I got a couple comments saying I'm underestimating the skill, so I've decided to test it out more in the future, and who knows, maybe I'll start using it myself. And the last monk skill that provides healing is Shielding Hands. This, on the other hand, is a skill that I placed quite high in the tier list. It's another enchantment spell that for 8 seconds reduces the damage dealt to you and heals you at the very end. Even with 0 points put into protection prayers, it completely negates the damage you receive at low level AoE farms like Scales and Ash for Bandits, and you can use it as a safety buffer pretty much anywhere in the area. Sadly, both the damage reduction and the healing both scale of protection prayers, which isn't a popular choice in Presearing. And last but certainly not least, we have Comfort Animal. Our pets deserve all the love, and this skill will keep them alive, or rather help them off the ground more often, as if you have a level 20 pet, then using this skill to resurrect them will give them vastly more health than using it just to heal. The skill has phenomenal range, a little more than entire compass, and since skills don't black out on companion death in Presearing, you can get a lot of value by just resurrecting your pet over and over. And that will be it for the video today, so thank you everyone for watching. Let me know if you're more of a Healing Breeze or a Troll Unguent enjoyer, or if you're one of the Giga Chats that plays with Blood Renewal only. And in this video I listed a lot of healing spells and a lot of their downsides, but maybe you have your own favorite healing skill that maybe is better in-game than it feels on paper, so let me know what that would be. And while researching for this one, I learned two things. The first one is that I really should go and try out Reversal of Fortune in real gameplay, because a lot of people seem to really like that skill, especially as a cover, so maybe I'll change my mind and put it much higher in the next tier list. And the second thing is, I really miss that lifesteal playstyle of Necromancer, so maybe I should go and play my Necro a little more, but that will be it. Yes, as I said, thank you for watching, hopefully you enjoyed, hope you had a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.